would say somebody sent me a comment, and they're like I believe them to be genuine, and they said, "Oh no, don't have an atheist on your channel. Don't like highlight or something or other." I mean, without being condescending, although it was a Muslim who said it, and I don't feel like I've ever had any comments like, "Oh, don't have that Muslim, don't have that atheist, don't have that other person." But I would just like to say that AP can come here anytime he likes, because for Christians, we don't have any compulsion to shun, persecute, condemn, ridicule. I do the ridiculing for free in my spare time. But other than that, like, we don't have any of the, we have a love everybody policy, no hippies involved at all in the making of that policy. And a thing to love, I guess not more so, favourably in the house of faith, meaning other Christians, but it doesn't mean there's not enough love left to go around for everyone else. Yeah. So I just thought I'd throw that out there.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. So that's a big surprise to me. I thought you guys hate me. So
it's a secret. Don't tell everybody that. No, we don't, because I'm quite good at hating, so I try not to do it at all. It's not good for you. Like, genuinely, psychologically, it's not. It's not something to. It erodes. It's like a corrosive kind of emotion.
Well, I agree that you shouldn't have atheists on. Atheists are pretty terrible people.
Yeah. But come on, admit you're an agnostic. How can you be like? I feel like atheism, in its true definition, is a very ballsy claim, unless you've checked behind the solar system, as it were, like down the back of the sofa. Like, how could to say there is no, like, it's safer at least to say, I don't know, or no one can know. Like, that's agnosticism, as opposed to, nope, I've looked everywhere, and my massive brain in one body in one point in time is able to conclusively, like, yeah. Right,
here's the thing. I think I just look a little bit deeper into agnostic philosophy is actually something that people don't really that people usually misrepresent or simplify for the sake of using it as a label. It's more than just I don't know. It's more like there probably is something, or maybe there is not. There might be something, but no matter how far we go, it is impossible for us to verify whether there is something.
That's it. There are two strands to agnosticism. There's I don't know, and there's nobody can know, regardless of the truth. But either of those, I feel, is certainly more, I don't know, non-arrogant. I don't even think it's not the right word. It's more of a safe claim to say nobody can know. I mean, for one, I guess you're telling me what I can know, but like to say there's definitely zero, like there's no God, not even no evidence, no God, just seems to me you'd have to be a God to be able to have that kind of all-knowing. You know what I mean? Like, you've looked everywhere. There's zero.
Here's the thing. I mean, I don't ever my atheism, and I kind of describe it as post-theism and as kind of non-cognitivism, theological non-cognitivism.
I don't know where I got that arrogant.
And what I say is not. We have clear proof that there is definitely no God. That's it. What I say in my own mind, in my own thinking, is that there is no reason for me to be convinced that such a thing as a God exists, and it is very likely, it is the best explanation to me, looking at history, at anthropology, that God is an idea that is non-cognitive, unverifiable, created by humans for functional reasons, in order to to work as a society, to live together, and to search and find meaning.
It doesn't work for societal benefits. Look at Iran.
And look, I don't say I can tell you, I can prove to you that there is no God. What I'm saying is whether there is such a thing or God or not.
Do you mean there's no why? There's no reason whatsoever that I should be convinced, or do you mean there's no intellectual reasoning attached to the plausibility or otherwise of theological concept? Do you see what I mean? Like, because you're saying there is a plausibility in as much as people invented it in order to get along, when the whole history of humanity shows that we don't invent much to get along. We just get on with the killing each other, like,
Yeah,
and
but
stealing and raping, and
I mean, I think people came up with morals and with rules and all that because they realized, wait a minute, if we just keep killing each other, this is not going to work. And not like this, but over a long periods
who
of
were
time.
these
I mean, it
altruists?
happens over long. It happens over periods of time. Like I give the Mongols as an example. The Mongols were people who were very
Okay.
tribal. They didn't care. They looked for power. They killed their
Mhm.
neighbors to have more
Sounds quite
space.
human. Yep,
Yeah,
go on.
but as they invaded the world and settled among other people, they had to adopt other, ways of living among the cultures they encountered, because they realized, okay, if we just kill everybody, this is not going to work for us or for
But
them.
that's
So
utterly that's an imperfect. I'm going to say that's a nonsense definition of morals, because
of course,
morals aren't adapting and modifying your killing instinct in order that there's a couple left that you can rape after, or whatever it was that you go outside the walls. You go, oh, we won't kill them all. We'll save some for Wednesday. That's not a moral. A moral, like, ethics and morality are not a higher. Well, they're a higher understanding of, like, the motivations and the ramifications of your, like, base actions. So you haven't given me, we're not debating, I understand, but
I know.
it's not really the inception of morality, even from an outward, like, non-bio. Do you
Okay,
see what I mean? Like, just
here's the thing.
stop killing a lot.
Here's the
It's not
thing.
really Mother
You expect
Teresa.
morality to descend from a bigger mind. I simply think that
No, I
morality.
don't.
No, I think that morality simply creates itself over generations within a society. For example,
So pre-Mongols, there was no altruism. There was no
there,
morality.
Mongols themselves
Oh,
also had morality. The morality just changed over time.
I
I-
really,
I'm,
I know we're
I'm
getting
not
into it,
saying
but
I'm not saying they had no morals. I'm saying that their morals were different from the morals that others had around them, and they necessarily
what's
changed.
the motivation for developing morals if I'm all right, Jack? What's the point in that? The people at the top, oftentimes it's like negatively correlative. The higher positions of power, the less outward trappings of morality, of any giving a shizzle about anyone other than yourself. You see, like, so it would have to be the peasantry who developed to let's look after each other, because then there's more people to work down the mill, or I don't know what they talk about in their spare time, but
Often it is. My what I meant when I said that the Mongols adopted things that they encountered on their path was not that the leaders of the Mongols just switched to their minds and thought, okay, we're going to live like this now. They didn't. Genghis Khan, for example, kept on telling people when he encounters new people, when he encounters new cities, he told them, okay, you have two choices: you will surrender to us, or we will basically penetrate your city and slaughter and rape everything that we come across. You have two choices.
who
Decide
wouldn't
now.
want to join? Sounds so.
That
It
that's that,
sounds
that's what
immoral,
they
anti-moral.
that's
Saying that,
that's how they were. And then those people who submit to his rule, to them he was like, if you submit to me, I will have complete mercy and justice toward you. If you don't, then I will make you submit. That was their rule, according to the witness records, the historical records that people have. And what they saw is that when they do submit, they are seriously being treated well by the Mongols. Their religions are being tolerated. Their societies are treated with justice under the Mongol rule. But if they don't submit, then they are being brutally slaughtered and killed and all that, because the Mongols just wanted to rule over others and benefit
so
from
again,
their.
it's nothing to. It's to do with good business practice as opposed to any concern or care for the genuine welfare. So,
Okay,
all
but
right,
here's
we're
the
coming
thing.
back to
Here's
this.
the thing. Here's the
All right,
thing.
go for it.
The
Go.
Mongols do this. Lower warriors of the hordes of the Mongols go to these conquered places and settle there, become part of these populations, and suddenly, over time, as they become part of these populations, they abandon what they learned in the wild steppes up northeast, no longer live like savages, if you want to call it that, and instead begin adopting a Persian lifestyle, for example, where there is a functioning society in comparison to what they had before, and their descendants then actually become integrated, proper members of this Persian society, and no longer have anything to do with the way the Mongols used to live. Just happens within a few generations, and that's how these people changed within just a few generations. From a very wild morality, they go to an established morality out of necessity, because that's where they are now.
Exactly. You're literally arguing. What do you mean, sir? That means they didn't all like they. If you adapt unwarlike behavior in a non-war situation, that's not evidence of any altruist, it depends on your definition of morals, certainly, but being good for the sake of, because it is the good thing to do, I guess, is kind of altruistic. Like, it's a workable definition. But for example, with the Second World War, if you and I, even though we're Westerners, but if we don't have an app, sorry, let me stop that thing. If we don't have a vaguely agreed or something we don't need to verbalize about why the annihilation of the Jews or the Nazi policy on termination of humans, if we haven't got a moral code in the West that says that's wrong, it's redundant for anybody, for us to have even, we could still fight against them in terms of the Allies, but we couldn't say it's wrong, because we can just say it's really inconvenient. We don't agree with that behavior. We can't say wrong, because wrong isn't agreed upon. It's wrong to kill people just because of something.
Well, I think that's what people actually mean when they say it is wrong. You might think that
if they don't believe in a universal morality, and by universal it implies that it comes from other than small committees at different points in time, or moving outside the gates, or you have
why is it wrong to kill somebody?
It isn't necessarily for everybody. I mean,
why is it wrong to murder your neighbor?
It isn't universally wrong, because it depends utterly on the context. It's wrong to arbitrarily kill people based on innate characteristics.
Okay. What if
one presupposes that they have no control over that, and therefore it's in the spirit of unfairness, in as much as they can't choose to say, well, I will stop being a Jew, I will stop being black, I will stop being a woman.
No, what if without any motivation, without anything at all, you go to your neighbor, no matter who this neighbor is, and you just murder them and take their belongings? Why is that wrong? So you
name them to murder. Is it killing or murder? Murder is wrong, because for me, I've got an outside moral agency, and I don't even mean as much as God. I mean, you and I have an agency, if we want to call it that, outside of ourselves, that we understand the conversation we're having. We understand that it's societally wrong, and now we're looking at, well, actually, why is it wrong? I'm not sitting there going, what do you mean?
Why is it wrong? Why is it wrong?
What do you mean it's wrong? I can't believe it. What? It's wrong, you say.
Why is it wrong?
What do you mean?
I'm asking, why is it wrong to kill your neighbor?
Here and say, what do you mean? You'd think she's smoking something. Like, it's a given.
But why?
A universal given that it's no good killing your mother. It's no good raping your grandmother. What do you mean why? Go and try it and see what your mum says. No.
Okay. No, I'm genuinely asking, just to make a point. Why is it wrong?
Without recourse to the scripture, it is wrong, because just from a selfish point of view, now, if I didn't have access to moral teachings, I would say it's wrong, because my neighbor on the other side might come and do it to me.
Exactly.
There you go.
Exactly. So there's
function, there's utility. Yeah, but that's from a non-moral point of view, you see? That's a selfish, non-altruistic.
But you have to invoke this in order to explain why it's moral.
No, I don't, because I can also picture it that, if I love humans, which I'm commanded to do anyway, because it ties in, but if I have a love for those who I don't know, for example, Nigeria, I've had nightmares, I have had months of oppressive, images in my mind of children with machetes in their heads, for example. They're not my children. I would have never met them in life. I wouldn't have ever loved them or seen them smile. And yet it distresses me as much as I won't say my own, I don't even want to think that, but it's a very real distress for me to see these children, and the fact they're Christian does mean it is ever so slightly more distressing for me in a non like judgmental way. But the thing is, that wouldn't be the case if I was just selfishly saying murder is wrong because I don't want to be murdered.
Okay, but now you're telling me how you feel. Now you're telling me how you feel, and
you asked me how. No, you said why is it wrong? If you feel like feelings aren't involved, like emotions aren't involved in cognition, like I don't know where you.
no, they are definitely. But I think you have these feelings because you have certain presupposed morals that you adopted or that you were born into, that you perceive as being real.
Just empathy and identifying with people you've never met, you never will meet, as in-group, like just the fact that Christians are 340 million Christians right now are being extremely and highly persecuted, including like raped, set on fire. That distresses me, not because I have to read it in a book, not because I have to have recourse to any theologian or apologist, because these are I consider them my family, and therefore they are.
Okay, here's the issue. You feel bad about that, and you feel empathy.
No, I don't feel bad. I feel distressed.
Okay, you feel distressed about that. Now somebody else goes and says, well, you might feel distressed about that. I don't feel distressed. We don't feel distressed. We just kill them.
I know the people who do it don't feel distressed at all.
Why is it wrong? Why do you judge me? They ask you, why do you judge me? Why is this wrong?
I don't judge them. That's the point of Christianity. See, that's where I feel like our terms are not defined, because I don't have to judge them or take vengeance on them. But
I mean judgment in
to be distressing.
I mean judgment in terms of apprehending and maybe giving them a worldly punishment in a judicial system and all that.
Doesn't happen in Nigeria.
But you would want it to happen, right? You would want to tell them they're doing something wrong.
No. What I would want to happen is for Boko Haram to get slapped up by the Holy Spirit, become Christian, and join the persecuted. That's not even that would be ironic. No, I want them to be saved. I love also the persecutors, and I pray for those guys almost as much as I pray for the victims, because none of it is none of it is going to lead to anything. I mean, the people who've been killed, the Christians, they're blessed anyway. In my worldview, they're going to, they've got salvation. But the people who are killing them, they're going to hell anyway, I guess, but they don't know what they're doing. Literally, that's what Jesus said about his murderers. He's like, they don't know. They need to be forgiven.
Okay, but is it wrong what they're doing? The funny thing is, people who didn't watch this conversation and just jumped in probably think, what is going on? But is it wrong that they are doing this? Is it wrong that Christians are being
yes
killed?
Dismembering children? I'm going to go out on a limb, AP. I'm going to say why? Because for one, conventionally, it's agreed upon universally. But for two, I tell you, this is what it is. And if you don't recognize this in yourself, I think you're a fibber. But if you you listen, you little tinker, shush. Right. So if you have an opportunity to do the right thing. You're walking along the street. You see a little old lady, this poor old lady. I'm always using her, like in my analogy. She's laying there in the snow. She might have a black eye. I think I'm going to branch out. And you just carry on walking. You go, do you know what? It's really late. I've got to speak to David Wood for 3 hours and whatever it is. So you just carry on scooting by. And then when you're laying in bed that night, hopefully, you might hear a little thingy like, oh, you should have helped her up. Oh, she did look a bit like my nan. Oh, no, I wonder if she's all right, if she's frozen to death. Or you got that little bit of you that sort of chastises you and does the what if. That to me is evidence that our morality doesn't come from us. Our humans are prone to take shortcuts, do what's easiest for us, make sure I'm all right, my family's all right, but I don't really care about other people. But the smaller voice, the little bit that says, oh, you're a bit of an ass, why didn't you do this, that, the other? You have it, I have it, other people have it. It may be culturally slightly, what's the word, tampered with or different. If your culture is to leave little old ladies, you need another, there was a camel there with 3 legs, whatever it is, there will be that everybody recognizes that thing. And because we all have it, and yet it isn't our first recourse, we always do the easy thing. We will steal it if nobody's looking. We will, lie and cheat and murder. We will justify all of the less beneficial to society behaviors that we can display and therefore I know it's not human nature to be moral, and the fact that therefore there are moral conventions to my mind, and that we all know them without being explained. Children, poor example, because they're quite selfish, but once they get past the egocentricity, they're oftentimes the biggest excuse me, miss, that's not fair, he's something, because they know what fair is. They know it generally relates to them because they're also pretty selfish, but they know there's a fair and a not fair, and that's at a very young age. And I don't feel that they're, that it can't be as intricate a design and an innovation if children can adopt it so readily.
Here's the thing. Here's the thing. Even if if you tell a child that something is not fair, the child will probably ask why, and then he would have to explain to them why it's not fair. No,
it's not about the child. No, you can't tell him the child. The child will say why. If you say it's bedtime, you can't have a biscuit. You can have a biscuit. The sky is blue. They say it's not fair because the other child has the bicycle, because the sister.
But no matter who says it, you still have to explain it. Here's the thing. Here's my issue with that. I think, on the contrary, the fact that I feel something when I see somebody else suffer is a sign to me, is evidence to me that I have something in my biology, in my body, that makes me perceive that and feel that way. It is like mirror neurons is something that we have.
So why don't Boko Haram suffer with what you suffer with?
Because they have an ideology that alters their way of thinking. When I see somebody getting slapped, I feel that. When I see somebody getting hit in their, private parts, I have this sudden tick to defend myself as if it is happening to me. It's because I'm relating and I'm mirroring what I'm seeing, and I'm putting myself in their position. It happens. And
empathy has no evolutionary benefit in terms of.
It absolutely does.
It has but it has more so, it has an equally strong case then to be by design, because if you were to be designing a species, you would want them to have empathy for each other, because otherwise they may all just either commit harry-gary, because or the opposite, they all may just stab the guy to the right in a big long line or a circle.
Well, it doesn't work very well. As you can see, there are many people around who are criminal or even in criminal organizations, and they don't really care about the feelings of people who
do actually. They care about no, they do. 5% of every species, 1 in 5 is dominant, and that includes human beings. And if you don't have a legitimate outlet for your dominance, if you're not a politician or an MMA fighter or I don't know what the other, a police officer, a magistrate, something that legitimizes and allows you to dominate or to have dominance, you will you will feel that you're entitled to that, and you will take the shortcut, and you may be a bank robber or someone who manufactures false credit cards, or some way a drug dealer, that you will obtain or attain power, like influence. And that's a psychological, that's a constant actually. The 5%, the 1 in 20 is constant over all species. So I mean, that could be attributed to evolution, as most things
here's the thing. I would say I go for the best explanation, for the easiest or for the best explanations here, and say, well, there is such a thing in your brain. It is proven. I mean, we have evidence to it. There is such a thing in your system, which makes you act a certain way. This is probably because this develops in humans and it has a purpose. You would go ahead and say this is probably because it was intelligently designed. I would say, well, that's a big assumption to make. You would have to explain to me how exactly it happens that something is intelligently designed. Whereas, on the other hand, natural development of it seems more plausible. But I'm just saying, I'm not saying
that was a little bit of a hijab move. I don't mean to horribly insult you, but
no, I'm not saying this is definitely how it happened. I'm saying this is an explanation. I'm not sure why I would go for the other explanation, which makes a lot of assumptions. So that's what I would argue with.
Okay, I would answer you in terms of intelligent design. There's actually, just physiologically or biologically, there are so many. There's like the golden ratio. There's lots of things that can't necessarily be accounted for at all by blind evolution. Like whether you believe in intelligently designed or managed evolution, or whether you disbelieve in like speciation, as I do, but I can fully accept adaptation. The presence of something in everybody's brain doesn't, for me, preclude the fact that it was designed that way. And I don't have to prove a designer or a creator just because I assert that's a possibility. You have to prove actually the non-existence of the intelligent designer, because it's your claim that it's without.
Yeah, I don't agree, but I would also never go down this line to argue for that. So I don't even know why we're talking about this.
Neither do I. We were taking questions, but we went off on a.
Yeah, how did we even get here? I would never go. I would never say.
We agreed to come on a live stream, and then it all went up.
I would never say God doesn't exist because morality.
Because of your atheism. I mean, that's just silly.
Yeah. It makes no sense. I don't know why. Yeah. But
you've got to check out your senses, I reckon.